Okay. That's a nice way to begin heart to heart. For those of you just dropping in for the first time, there always is somebody. Uh, we have just a short talk, hopefully somewhat inspirational, and then we do meditation, and then we do conversation. That's the format. Most of you are familiar with that. Well, I'm going to start with this poem. I wrote this poem yesterday. I wasn't quite sure what we were going to do uh, this week, but the poem came, so I thought it'd be good. It goes like this. When your computer freezes up, you can refresh it. Or if that fails, you can just turn it off and on and turn it off again or on again. And then usually the problem is solved. But what do you do when your rational mind freezes up and you find yourself screaming at some politician on your 65-inch flat screen? Or worse yet, screaming near your beloved who sighs and replies, "You're barking at the choir again." So, how do you turn stimulus and reaction into stimulus and response? That's the main point. How do you turn stimulus and reaction into stimulus and response? It's just simple. You breathe slowly and deeply through the nose and breathe out slowly and deeply through pursed lips. And if you could only remember that and do that for, say, 3 breaths, then you can always taste the pause that refreshes. If you can do that for, say, 3 breaths, then you can always taste the pause that refreshes. Yeah, so this is just called the pause that refreshes, which was an old slogan that Coke used, by the way. And there's a story behind it, but I'm not going to get into it now. If you're a Hoosier, you might be interested in this story because it was people who made up the slogan were from Indiana. But so, what is this about? The center of this poem, actually, physically, is how do you turn stimulus and reaction, screaming at the TV? You know, impeachment week is coming up, folks. So this is sort of prep time if you're interested in this. How do you turn, stimulus and reaction into stimulus and response? Well, actually, this kind of breathing that I want to help you develop a little bit uh, is one of the best ways I know. Uh, and I forget to do it all the time, and I'm screaming at the TV, and then Pam says, "You're barking at the choir again." Again, that's her. She took the term from me. I took it from a book name by the same way. I said, yeah, I know, I'm barking at the choir. I know, you know, which is a mixing of metaphors of barking up the wrong tree and, you know, singing to the choir. Yeah. So anyway, how do you do that? Well, this is the best way I know. I mean, just by experience, this is what I do. In that particular Gatha, uh, dwelling in the heart on the in breath and on the out breath through the pursed lips, just being. That really helps. Now, why does it help? And it's not just for watching TV and, politicians that drive you crazy or whatever. You're just stressed out. You're just overwhelmed. You're just at the end of your rope. You're in a traffic jam. There's so many places you can use this. Well, in a traffic jam, you probably wouldn't want to shut your eyes and do it. But the interesting thing is, Buddhists don't shut their eyes when they meditate anyway. So you just keep them, you could just do it. Going through TSA, if you ever do go back to flying again, the line, dwelling in the heart. And then slowly out through pursed lips, just being. There's ways to develop this kind of practice. Now, why does it work? The neurological deal is, this practice, and Buddhists knew it, perhaps Hindus knew it before them, because Buddha grew up in a Hindu North India little kingdom, and Hindu practices of all kinds of breath were available, and yoga people. We have yoga teachers watching this. They know how the breath can change everything. And believe me, when you stop breathing, it's all over here. When you started breathing, it started. So the breath is key, and it's always with you. You can always use it. But this scientifically, what's going on when you do this kind of breath, even for 3 breaths, it can switch your nervous system from fight or flight or freeze kind of mechanism, which happens when you start to get stressed or afraid or angry or whatever. Then your old brain, just the brain stem, your old brain gets triggered. It could be as little as you expected this and you got that. Well, all of a sudden when the brain stem fires up, that's what they call the old brain. That's our very first brains, the brain we had as infants coming out of our mother's womb. And we navigated by that brain stem. Avoid pain, go towards comfort. That was survival stuff. It's the survival brain, the old brain. The problem is when it fires up, the other 2 centers of intelligence, the new brain, the cerebral cortex, the left brain, as we call it, that's logic, reason, problem solving, language. The new brain flips off a lot of times. So when that old brain, the survival brain, the brain stem clicks on, it flips off. It's sort of like every once in a while when you're on Zoom, if you hit the wrong thing and all of a sudden, you're muted or, whatever. So the new brain flips off when the fight or flight or freeze mechanism comes on. And not only can you not think clearly, a lot of times you can't even verbalize because all of that's from the left brain, you see. So in technical language, your sympathetic nervous system is turned on, and the left brain more or less goes offline, and that's a problem. When you saw these guys rushing up against the Capitol, these guys were running on brainstem there. Some of them have a little bit of remorse about that, but they all got whipped up, or maybe they stay in that state. I don't know, but it wasn't logical. They did have strategy. Some people who did have strategy, but basically it was brainstem energy we saw. It's sort of scary. Same way when you go to war. Your brainstem energy when you come out of the trenches or go into the field to fight or whatever. So the problem for us is it turns off our intelligence of the left brain, logic, reason, problem solving, and sometimes the problems get worse. But then what's totally out of reach is oftentimes, for sure, the heart, which is, these are 2 forms of intelligence, the brain stem and the left brain cognitive. Those are 2 forms of intelligence. But the third form we have in what's known as the heart in contemplative practice is wisdom, is compassion. You didn't see much compassion when they were storming up the steps of the Capitol. As a matter of fact, these "don't tread on me" guys treaded on some of their own people. There's a couple of people who were trampled by their own people because, you're just not in touch. You're just not in touch. So for us, especially, in a few minutes, we're going to drop into meditation. Um, we'll do this kind of switch over thing, this Gatha, just these three breaths before we actually descend into meditation. We'll do the three breaths, and that has a really great effect on the 20 minutes that follows. Especially if you have the problem of you're up in the monkey mind for most of the 20 minutes. Nothing wrong with it really, but you're not even able to think clearly, and you're certainly not able to reach the heart, which is about wisdom and compassion. See, so let's just try this practice. We're going to work on this practice a little bit uh, for a few weeks, just so you can get it down. It's so simple. You could do it on your own. Next time you get stressed or overwhelmed, or just at the end of your rope, or frustrated, or you feel like you're angry, and you know survival brain is kicking on. If you can remember to do this, it only takes about a minute, and it can flip that switch. I think there's people in prison who, just for 2 minutes of their life, if they had flipped that switch, they wouldn't have pulled that trigger. They wouldn't have gone into that store. And they're spending years in prison. You know, I could have killed my father. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that. And I was just crazy for a moment, when I was keeping him here. Uh, Luckily, I had practices, you see, be able to sit. Okay, so uh, let's get into meditation mode now. Just arrange your body, because we're going to go into it. I'm just going to lead you through the breathing again, and then we'll just do a little visual lead down, and then we'll be going.